Hey everybody, I wanted to make a video and follow up from a post that I made the other day on my This is 40 Military Spouse Edition Facebook page. So I made a post the other day talking about how I have found it a bit challenging since I started looking for a job in the last month or so. We are going through that transition of going into retirement. We still have a little bit of time, but they don't tell you. You are literally saying we are retiring for a good year before you actually retire. But because we are thinking ahead and we're starting to look at places where we might want to live, and we're starting to look at houses in those areas, and my gosh, houses are freaking expensive. And looking at houses and starting to think ahead in that aspect is kind of what had triggered me originally to write the post about. Well, that's what triggered me to start looking for jobs and getting on LinkedIn and getting my resume updated and all of that stuff, because it is expensive to live off of the military's dime, not on post anymore, and trying to find places where you're in a good, safe area, has good, great schools, and you're close to wherever you're hoping to be working. All of the stuff, you're putting into consideration. And a lot of times that puts you into areas where prices, like what I used to think about, like a really nice house, have like doubled for sure. So that is what just triggered that post. So I wanted to say thank you, because you guys are amazing, and I cannot tell you how many military spouse friends of mine have reached out on the side and said, what are you looking for? I didn't know you were trying to go back to work. What do you want to do? And do you want me to look at your resume? And like, you guys are amazing, and thank you so much. I appreciate that. And honestly, when I first started looking for jobs on LinkedIn and all of that stuff, like, I really was just going in blind. Like, first of all, I will start with, I have been out of the job hunting game, for a long time. And I don't know that I was ever in the job hunting game. I went to school for physical education, health. I was going to teach PE. And my actual degree, without the education side of it, was sport and fitness management, which was the perfect job, I thought, or the perfect degree when I was 22 years old and married to somebody in the military. And you want to know what I thought I was going to do with that degree? Obviously, I was going to walk in and just be the director of MWR. Like, kid you not, that was exactly what I thought I was going to do with that degree. Probably not going to happen. First of all, the people who end up with those jobs have probably been working for MWR for the last 20 years themselves. And those jobs don't come open often. And it's just, even working for MWR is honestly not as easy as I thought it was going to be. But putting all of that aside, when I got on LinkedIn, it's kind of shocking. It's like a mini business Facebook page, like you're like selling yourself, you're connecting with all these people that you've met throughout the years, and it's really cool. And then you start looking at jobs. And for me, what I've been doing for the last 20 years has been in the nonprofit sector, some type of nonprofit. So whether I was working and doing like Santa's workshops, like that was built through the Red Cross. I was on the board for the Red Cross, who had a military like location at Fort Knox, and I would go to their board meetings. I, was voting on their monthly budgets and doing all the things, even though like all I was doing was the Santa's workshop part of that. But just being on that board, like, learned a ton working with them and seeing how they run things and just everything. And then I have the Spouses Club stuff. And then I have working for Rees Across America, another large nonprofit. And then I'm on the board for the United Way. And I've been working within the Leavenworth County United Way for the last year, watching how they do things or whatever. But really what it all comes down to is that my heart is in the nonprofit world. And you can get overwhelmed when you look up like nonprofits, like remote nonprofits, all this stuff. And on LinkedIn, there's hundreds of jobs, hundreds. And I started applying for just like anything and everything at first, right? And then I've taken a minute now to think about, like, that's probably not the greatest approach to go about it. Like, the reason I am an excellent volunteer or leader within the nonprofit, whatever I'm working in, it's because my heart is in it, and I have a passion for whatever it is that I am working on at the time. So applying for random nonprofit jobs, working for, somebody else's passion is probably not what's going to drive me. So I've realized, like, just because it's there doesn't mean it's for me, or just because I'm qualified doesn't mean it's for me. So that led me to start applying for some jobs that are within some larger nonprofits, like in the military sector. And this whole little video I'm making is coming to you because today I was sent my first rejection email letting me know that I had got an interview. So, like, step one. And I always thought that, like, once I can get actually in there and get into the interview, then I'm going to be able to shine. I'll be able to sell myself. I'll be able to explain more of, like, why I'm qualified, like how spouses clubs, can transfer all the things that I was doing within these boards and these 501c, nonprofits, like how I have learned and grown and all that stuff. Well, today I found out that I did not shine how I thought I was going to shine, or they did not see what I was hoping they would see, and that's okay. So I am going to be fully transparent on this journey with you guys. I feel like now you're invested, so I'm invested to report back. And I'm gonna say today I was bummed out. It was like, whether or not I was fully ready to take on this, like, new full-time job, it was a bummer to read the email that we've moved forward with other candidates and whatever. The job was for a larger military nonprofit that I have been familiar with for the last 20 years. I've actually I spoke at a virtual, like, conference that they were doing, back, I think in like 2021 or whatever, at Fort Knox. And I was one of the speakers, and I got on to talk about, like, military spouses and, how to develop into, how to use the spouses club to develop into future leaders and all the stuff. And it was great. And so, I mean, I am familiar with them. You are familiar with them. They're a big name. So what's funny about this is that the job was a basic entry level type of job for them. So I would be doing remote work, but helping with programs, and, like, they have a couple, like, big main programs they do, and I would be working with those and working with the team and all this stuff. And honestly, I felt like I nailed the interview. I was so excited, like, literally over the top when I got off of that interview, because I was like, man, like, I could answer every single question with confidence, had experience, everything they said, tell me a time when you had to, do that. And it was just crazy. Like, that was the part I was worried about, is like, how, that I'm going to be able to answer interview questions and all of that stuff. It was too easy. It was great. And I'm embarrassed even to say I should have smacked myself in the face. I even got off that interview and I told my husband, kid you not, I said, man, like, I think I would even rather, like, apply for, like, the next job up. Like, I want to do, like, I think I could do, like, managing of, I could be over a whole team doing this. Like, basically the person who was interviewing me, I was already thinking, like, that's really what I want to do. Like, I want to manage, like, this team of people and all this stuff. But I was just thrilled to, like, have an interview, possibly get a job where I could get my foot in the door at this place where, like, it would be an honor to work, and unfortunately I did not get that second interview, and it stings, but it made me, well, I'm going to say this whole entire journey has been humbling. And by realizing that just because you have lived experience, you have these experiences where you have worked with, like, not only military spouses, but you've worked in military communities, and you've worked with the leaders inside these military bases, and how to talk the lingo, and like, how to run a board, and how to campaign for money, and all of this. It just still isn't always enough. And maybe I needed to realize that lived experience in the corporate world isn't always going to trump maybe somebody with a degree in administration, or a master's in nonprofit work and all of that stuff. So I have no idea who I was up against or the other candidates for the job. But now I am going to go into this with new eyes and maybe still have confidence, because I do still think I could have done that job. Like I know I could have done the job that I was applying for and done it well. But now I'm going to go into it with a different set of eyes the next time. And I think I might even reach out and ask, like, if there was any kind of feedback that they'd be willing to give me, so that way I can like take, any kind of thoughts that they had on what I did well, or what I needed to work on in that interview, or what was lacking that they were really wanting from somebody in that position. And at least I'll have something to go off of, and something to share with you as well, like, because I feel like this is going to be helpful for other people, not just myself, to go through this journey with me, so that you guys aren't going into it as blindly confident as I am or was. And the other side of the story is that I feel that as military spouses, we are told over and over again that, like, all of this volunteering that you're doing, all of this work you're putting in, it's not for nothing. You're filling resumes, you're filling gaps in your employment, and you really are. And I'm the first one to advocate for spouses clubs to update their names on the board from secretary to administrative assistant and all of that, because we think, like, by doing that, when someone reads that on a resume, that's going to look a little bit more important than just saying you were the secretary of a spouses club. You were the administrative assistant, but now I'm going through it and I'm realizing that what we've been told, maybe it isn't going to be as easy as I thought it was going to be. Maybe I was kind of foolish to think that it was going to be easy. But I am still going to put myself out there. I'm still going to keep applying to jobs that I feel align with my heart and align with things that I am really deeply passionate about, because I know that that's when I give my best work. And I am going to continue to report back to you guys. So I wanted to say thank you again for the messages and just the kind words, and even people who have just worked with me, who have just reached out and been like, oh, you'd be perfect for this job. And it's like, you guys are the reason I have all this confidence. But thank you. And I appreciate you. And I hope to report back in the near future with some better news, and possibly a job that was the job that was meant for me. Like, it's just out there. I just haven't found it yet. But thank you guys, and I hope you have a great weekend.